Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me very well. There's going to be a little bit of French accent here. Welcome to JoomlaDay USA. My name is Olivier Buizard, and I'm right now in New Jersey, in a place called Ocean City, near the beach. And I'm with Laura and Robin right now. For today's session, the team at JoomlaDay USA would like to thank our premier sponsor, Watchful, our platinum sponsor, Russian, Open Source Matters, OS Training, and Commerce Lab, Edgood sponsors Wibbler, Web357.com, CloudAccess.net, JModules.com, RS Joomla, and all our silver sponsors. A bit of housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions, put them in the Q&A section, and I will ask them at the end of the session to Marc. You can only interact with us through the chat and the Q&A, unless I see something that needs to be done and stop Marc. But other than that, Q&A in chat. And we won't go over the 60-minute mark because we need to get ready for the next session and to give a little break for everybody so that you can go to the expo hall and stuff like that. And about 45 minutes into Marc's talk, we should probably stop and get the Q&As answered. In 2008, Marc Dechevre discovers Joomla, its strengths, and the power of the community. He is a regular speaker in French, English, and Dutch, like we just talked about, different international conferences like the Joomla Days of France and Netherlands and World Conferences, J and beyond. He's done all of it. He's part of a lot of the Joomla groups, user groups too, of Wallonie, of Vlaanderen, and Ouagadougou. I have listened to many of his talks. You can find them on YouTube. And it taught me a lot over the years, especially lately in the custom fields, and it's been doing great work on that. He regularly publishes articles about Joomla. You probably read some of his his articles, sorry, in Joomla Community Magazine. So today he will focus on showing us how to customize the Joomla search results. And for those who know his work, you know that there's probably going to be some cool stuff in there. So, Marc, you're welcome to start.
Okay, thank you, Olivier, for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. And indeed, I'm talking about smart search, but I managed to mention custom fields because custom fields are everywhere in Joomla if you like them. Sorry, but before I start, I don't know whether you had seen now I've shared my screen. I don't know if you still see my face on your screens.
Yeah, yes, we can see you.
Okay, because the background, like if you miss meeting other Joomlers in real life, we have the Joomla Day France happening in Brussels, which is not in France, which is in Belgium. In 4 weeks. So if you want to meet Joomlers in real life, please join us in Brussels on 20 and 21st of May. It will be nice. So now let's dive into today's topic, being customizing Joomla for smart search results pages and customizing with images, custom fields, and a new layout. Let's just first show maybe a website. This is a demo website, right? And if I make, with just a few articles on it, dummy articles, if I make a search on it on Joomla 4, this is what the result page looks like. Kind of Google presentation, right? A list of results. This is not so sexy because, like, typically in Joomla, you would have images, either intro images or the full article images, or maybe you would like to have another layout. and I've discovered many things about the smart search in Joomla 4, following a discussion with Sakis Tersis, who is doing a presentation right now. So I'm looking forward to the replay in a couple of weeks, so that I can also watch his session, because what he has done, he has published very soon after Joomla 4 release, he has published an extension. So you can see that on his website, which is blue-coder.com. He has released an extension called JFilters, allowing to filter. I don't know whether there is a screenshot, not directly, but does not matter. We'll see that later. So it allows to filter articles based on tags, on titles, on custom fields, whatever. But it is completely integrated in the smart search. And actually, I was having a discussion with him saying, oh, it's very sad that we can't customize this page because, well, filtering will be nice for me. I use filtering on custom fields on many sites, for example, but if the page looks like this, well, actually, it's not very useful for me, like because I want to have images, to have custom fields, to have something more advanced than this basic result page. And actually, then we had a discussion, and this is how I started discovering plenty of possibilities of the smart search result page. So let's dive into it. Everything I'm telling now was published last month in the Joomla community magazine. But for today's session, actually, I've added different new sections in my presentation. So if you go to my website, being slides.woluweb.be, or maybe Olivier can share the link in the chat, slides.woluweb.be. There you have all my presentation. So many of them are about custom fields. I've made presentation about, on all continents, many of them in Europe, of course, since I'm in Belgium. And there you can find the latest one being the Joomla 4 Smart Search result page. And if you click on the HTML version, you will see the detailed version of the updated version of this presentation. So what we will do is I will keep sharing the screen. So here I've made just a screenshot of what we have seen here. Maybe I should zoom a little bit, right? So this is the default look, and what we will get at the end of the session is something like that. So it's the same search, but instead of having a simple list, we will have cards in this case, and we will also display the intro image. We will also display two custom fields. In this case, one basic custom field being just a link, a URL, right? Which we see just under the intro image. Right under, we will have some other custom fields, but with an advanced layout. So here I'm using a custom field of type subform, which is a new type of custom fields for Joomla 4, which is a kind of repeatable custom field. So it allows me with a special layout to transform that into a real slideshow, right? It's just for the demonstration. Then we can have the URL of the page in the result, the title of the article, the excerpt of the article, and even the taxonomy, like author, date, and everything. And in this case, I've put it in gray and at the bottom of each card. So as we can see, we will go from something very basic to something completely advanced, and maybe you don't need all of that. Maybe you just want the image, maybe you just want the card layout, maybe you just want custom fields, or you could make a mix like I've done on this example. So actually, this thing, Joomla 4 came with many new features, but Joomla 4.1 came with some other new big features. In the communication, people could see the communication would stress big features like child templates, the task scheduler, the accessibility checkers, etc. But there are also other little things, more discrete things, but which nonetheless are very interesting, like adding the images in the Smart Search result page. So here I give a few links to explain that. So, well, let's just do it. Actually, I will skip that, but even in Joomla 4.1, you could add your intro image, but that would require a manual override of some files. Now, since Joomla 4.1, it is ready, it is available out of the box, thanks to Sakis, who added the feature. So let's show how it goes. Here I have my basic search. Now let's log in into the backend, administrator. Right, let me find my login subform. Yeah, here. And there is a new option in the Smart Search. So how do you get there? In the new Joomla 4 backend, on the left, you have all the menus. There you see components. There you see the Smart Search. There you can go to any of the sub menu items. So I just take the first one, but it does not matter. I will go to options, and in the options, there is something new, result image here. So if instead of by default it is on the hidden, and I can set it on show. And if I do that, I have other additional options fields. I have an image class, which I leave empty at the moment. It was pre-filled because I had played with it this morning. I've lost my mouse. Okay. And also there is a switch to say whether the intro image should have a link to the article or not. So by default, I think yes is a better option, but it's really up to you. So now if I save and I go back to the front end and I reload my page, look, excellent. So you don't have to do anything except change an option in the backend. With Joomla 4.1, it is an integrated feature, a ready-to-use feature. You can add the intro image in the Smart Search result page. That's a good point. Now, in the case of this website, this does not look too bad because in this case, the three images were like horizontal images having by chance the same ratio and the same size. But of course, on a real website, you could have vertical images, sometimes big ones, sometimes small ones. So we want to improve on that. One typical way to do that is that you would like to have the image aligned on the left. Well, I'm saying on the left because in English or in French, we write left to right. So here in the image class, if I add the class float start, if you know a bit of CSS, you've already seen that because float start was called in the past left, right? But float start is smarter because it is left when we are on left to right, but it is right when you are like in Arabic language, when you're on a website where the writing is from the right to the left. So float start is quite universal. And now if I save and I refresh the page, well, we are almost there. Indeed, the image is left aligned, but since the image floats, well, actually, the image is a bit too big, so that sometimes it gets bigger than each result, right? We have a result 1, result 2, result 3, and I see that the image of result 1 comes on top of the result 2. So actually, this is a typical CSS thing. If you're familiar with CSS, you know how to solve this CSS thing, and I've written it somewhere here. So wait, I'm going a bit further in the presentation. Where's my CSS? Yeah, here you can add some CSS just to say, okay, the image floats, but I want some space before the next result. So if I add this in my user.css, because here I'm working with the Joomla default template being Cassiopeia. So in the backend, I open a new backend page. If I go to System, Site Template Styles, right, I see that I use Cassiopeia, and I see that I've even made 2 child templates. So child templates will be a session made by Robbie, if I remember correctly. So be sure to follow that. It's really powerful and interesting. Here, I won't use it just to make it faster in my example. But if I click, if I go to the templates, then I can edit any file of the templates. So very useful when I want to edit my user.css, when I want to have customized CSS, or when I want to create overrides or alternate layouts. So for my template, I see that there is a folder for CSS. And in my case, I have already created a user.css. So I just click on it. And actually, I've already filled it in. I've just disabled some lines so that I can be faster during this session. So right now, if I enable this little block, this will say that, okay, my image is floating. So I want to have a nice layout after that. And by the way, I also want to limit the width of my image to 250 pixels so that it won't be too big. I just save this. I go here and I refresh my page, a hard refresh, so that my cache is emptied. And so now I have exactly what I wanted, right? The image is smaller, and also, even if it is big, maybe I should not have resize it to with the maximum width, then we see better what I wanted to show. So right now, even if the image is big, it's just fine. It does not overlap the next results. And the next step is that you probably want to have the same width for the images. So that's why I was adding an extra line of CSS to give a max width being 250 like this. Right? So that's the first good thing. Now we have the image. We can be sure that the image does not overlap. We can be sure that it's not too big, no matter the original size. Let's go to the next step in the presentation. Here, it was the smartest, well, not the smartest, the fastest way to do it. I just add the class to the image because the option is there in the backend, and I add a few lines of CSS as shown here on the screen. But I could also do something a little bit more advanced. I could play with CSS grid. So all it requires is a bit of CSS. CSS grid is what is used in the default Cassiopeia template for Joomla 4. It's very handy. If you don't know what it is, clearly just spend 15 minutes or 1 hour learning CSS grid. Is really powerful. So CSS grid, if I use these lines of CSS, which I will do right now. So I go back to the template, user.css. I disable the CSS line I had just made ready for my first example. Now I will enable the lines I've just shown. Okay. Oh, maybe I should zoom a little bit, right? Now let's refresh the page. Okay, we have something similar, but technically it is a grid. So I find it even nicer because like the taxonomy is also on the right. So how does it work? If I won't go too long explaining in detail what is CSS grid, but just to show quickly, Right. Here in the HTML, if I hover, we see that we have a grid. And in my CSS, I've given names to each area, and I say, okay, I want the image on the top, in the top left cell. And then I want the article title on the top right cell. But I could have chosen any place. I could have imagined any design, any grid, and I can place each item in any of those cells. So this is quite flexible. And the good thing about that, if we go back to the CSS I was showing, is that in this case, I've said that this grid design would only apply if my screen is big enough, because on a smartphone, if I would have such a layout with the image on the left, well, actually, there would be no place left, or almost no place left for the rest, for the text, for the title, article, for the excerpt, for the taxonomy. So here in this case, because I said that this grid layout would only apply on large screen, if I switch to smartphone view and I refresh, but maybe I should adapt because I've not played with this version recently. Yeah, I think the link is a bit too big. I should adapt my code maybe for the smartphone view. I should check that. I will do that later. So here we have a more advanced example using CSS Grid, where I can put each of the elements of each result at any place in a grid that I define myself. Now, I could also say, especially if I use filters, I think, if I want to use Sakis extension, JFilters, well, typically you want to have card layouts. If my website is about movies and I want to filter movies according to, I don't know, the author or whatever, the length of the movie, whatever, the duration, then I would like to have a card layout. Here, I give an example of a few lines of CSS that you could use, and then you would get a card layout. So let's go back to the CSS. I disable what I had just enabled here. Right. And I enable the cards version. Okay, I just save it. And now if I refresh my page, I have a card view. So it's exactly the same content. It's just thanks to the CSS that now I say, okay, let's have cards of a given width so that it's responsive. I have the intro image, I have the URL of each page, the article title, the excerpt, and then I even play with Flexbox in my CSS to say that I push the taxonomy, so the article type, article author, article category. You don't have to publish that. You don't have to make that visible. In this case, I've enabled the display of the taxonomy, but like in this case, I find it nicer if it is pushed to the bottom of each card. So again, it's just one extra line of CSS, and you can have such a design for your page, for your search. Actually, in my example, I have already added this line of CSS because these lines of CSS are there to have the card layouts, but you can also play with CSS to change the order, because by default the image was coming as number 2 in each card. So here with CSS, I just say, no, I want the image first. So just playing with CSS, sorry, I'm going to the wrong page. Just playing with CSS, I can say that the image should have a different order and be put first. Also, this is how I've put the taxonomy at the bottom, okay, I said that the taxonomy should be in light gray and a bit smaller. But then what I said is that the description actually uses flex and flex 1 so that it will grow, and by growing it pushes the taxonomy to the bottom. So this is just CSS. Of course, if you want to, because so far we have customized the Smart Search result page only with CSS. You could go further and do something really unique if needed. If by making an override, a real PHP override, there is no limit. You can invent anything, do anything. I give here a link explaining how to do such an override. But if you can reach your result with only CSS, it's even better, right? Than by playing with an override, because you have to be aware that a search in Joomla, in this case, it did only pull articles in the results, but it can also pull categories, contacts, tags, and other extensions can also be compatible with the Smart Search. So actually, it can display many different things. And if you start to make an override there, then you have to be aware of that, because an article has an intro image, an article can have a custom fields, but maybe your contacts don't have a custom field or don't have all those different elements. So actually, you should avoid overrides if you don't need them. It will be easier with just CSS. The next step, especially that, as I was saying at the start, my initial point was that I was interested by JFilters adding a filtering capability to the Smart Search. I was interested to have that, but then I wanted to display custom fields, because if I can't display custom fields on the Smart Search result page, well, you're still nowhere. It is only the native things like title, image, and description which are displayed. So for this, of course, we have to make an override. Well, just follow the link, because I won't do it live. I will just show the results. And I will just explain the few changes we have to make in the file, in the PHP file. So there is a detailed version here on the Joomla documentation. And here I explain step by step how you create the override. And the good thing is that for the Smart Search, and I did not know that before, because in Joomla 3, I was only using the classical search, being com search, and never the com finder, the Smart Search. Now in Joomla 4, we only have the Smart Search, which is a good thing. So that's why I only discovered this feature now, is that actually there is a default layout for any type of element in Joomla, be it articles, contacts, categories, tags, etc. It is the default results PHP page. But actually, when we make override, we can make a different override for articles and for each of those things. So the only thing is that we have to call it default underscore article. And then we can have something which will be used only for Joomla articles. And so in my case, it is exactly what I want to do, because my custom fields are only applied to Joomla articles. So if my result page returns other things than articles, well, it's just fine. My override will only trigger for articles. And in that override, what do I have to add? Actually, only a few lines. Because by default, the custom fields are not loaded on the Smart Search results page. So we have to add those 3 lines which call the custom fields so that they will be available in our override. So these 3 lines allow us to have the custom fields readily available in the result page. And then anywhere on the page, before the title, after the title, before the image, or after the image, or wherever you want, you can then display that custom field. For example, the custom field having ID, the ID number 10, I would just echo my custom field by ID number 10 and take the row value. And I put that code where I want on my page, and then I would have the result. I could even go further, because the raw value is nice, but maybe sometimes I really want to trigger the rendering by Joomla. Maybe I've made a special view for my custom field. This is exactly what I have done. I will show that here on this demo site. Originally, this website was a demo for custom field of type subform, and I wanted to show that you can make a slideshow from a custom field. So this whole slideshow, so there are 3 slides. For each slide, there is an image, there is a text, and there is a duration. And all of this is just one custom field. So if I want to display that on the Smart Search result page, in my override, I will have to say that I want this special slideshow view, and I can do that by using this more advanced line of code in my override. I can say, look, please, I don't want just a raw value. I want the rendered value as defined in the custom field itself in the backend. And then if you use this line of code, it will automatically render as a slideshow in my example here. Or I could even choose something else, like if I have, this is more advanced, if I have different alternate layouts, maybe by default in Joomla, I have some alternate layout, but maybe for the Smart Search, I want another one. I would just, I made an example here with London because it was for a session for the London Joomla user group. Even that I could do in this example. So you can see that for yourself. It is a more advanced use. So let's see what it gives. I go back to here. So I will leave my CSS because it's just fine. And actually in the template Cassiopeia, in the HTML, when you create the override for ConFinder, it will create some files. And in this case, for example, I will, well, normally you don't have any files there before creating an override. Here I have 2 files and I've given them false names so that they don't trigger. Now I will rename that so that they will become active. So I will open this one, which is the one having those little lines I've just mentioned, the 3 lines triggering the custom fields, and further in the file somewhere we display the custom field. I should find it. Yeah, like here, for example, this is where I say I want to display my slideshow, my custom field of type slideshow, well, of type subform, but which displays as a slideshow. So let's just rename that file so that the name is just default article.php. Default article.php, rename. Okay, so because now it will trigger. When I had given it a false name, it would not trigger. So now that it is renamed, if I go back to the search and I refresh, it is exactly what I wanted. It is the same as before, but on top of it, I displayed a raw value of some custom field I had, which was a URL custom field, and right under it displays the custom field of type subform, which is a slideshow, right? So I have something really advanced. I've changed the layout completely. I've added the intro image, and I can add the raw value or the rendered value of any custom field in any place, because in my override I can choose where I want to display them, of course. Let me just show 1 second how it looks like in an article, this slideshow, so that you see what that custom field looks like. Let me just close this, and if I go to contents, article, and I open one of them, right, we have different fields. This was the custom field of type URL, and this is the custom field called carousel, which is a repeatable custom field. Well, the technical name is custom field of type subform. So for each slide, I can give a title, a duration, and also to select an image. And I have that, and I have made 3 slides, but I could just click on plus and have 4, 5, 6 slides, or minus and delete some slides or change the order. So this is how a custom field of type subform works. So this was just to illustrate that. Now we are far already, but we can do even better. Let me show that on some other websites, which is in construction. So let me, sorry, it is in French only, but if I search, it is a classical music festival, right? Just to give the context. And here, I do not want cards. Here, the list view was fine for me. So I just used CSS grid to have this presentation, image on the left and the rest on the right. If I take the smartphone view, well, on the smartphone, there I don't want the grid view. Then I switch back to the regular view. This is what I was explaining in my CSS, that I was requiring a minimum width for the screen to have my grid view. But what I wanted to show here is that all those images, actually, if I go on that page, that image is quite big because it is the intro image. So I don't know, maybe it's 2000 pixel width. So actually, can you imagine on a result page, if you have, I don't know, 20 results and each image is maybe, I don't know, 1 megabyte, I'm just saying something, your result page could be very heavy and not very efficient. So actually what you can do for that is that there is a free and open source little plugin made by Dimitris Grammatikogiannis, who is from Greece, but he lives in Belgium, and he will be there at the JoomlaDay France in Brussels in 4 weeks. He has made different interesting little plugins, and among them, this one, Joomla for responsive images. All you have to do is to download and install it, and what it does is that everywhere in Joomla, not only for the smart search, but it will also automatically trigger for smart search. So that's excellent. But even for any article or blog view, instead of having this HTML, which is the normal one when you insert an image, right? And when you have the full, the image with its full weight, actually it will create duplicates of that image in plenty of different sizes, so that it will load the browser of your visitor will load the right size according to the device. If it's a smartphone, it will load the small size image. If it's a huge screen, like for a graphic designer, it will load the heavy image, right? And so this little plugin, you just install it, and for all the articles in Joomla 4, in the articles view, blog view, etc., it will automatically transform the code. It will automatically create all those alternative images, and it will adapt the code. It will also create the WebP and AVIF version of each image if you like. It's just an option that you select or unselect in the plugin. So it will really make your website faster, which is good also in Lighthouse if you want to have a high performance website. So in this case, what I wanted to say was, look, on this website, I have heavy images on the article themselves. This is just fine. It's a right definition for those articles. But on the smart search, thanks to this little plugin, actually, since the plugin triggers, maybe I can zoom a bit there. Can I zoom? Yeah. Well, actually, it uses this responsive image so that the page will still be very light and very fast, even on smartphone. So that's a little bonus. The ultimate step, and I'll have to wait myself 2 weeks before I can watch on replay Sakis Thursday's session, which is happening right now at JoomlaDay USA. The ultimate step is that you can have a filter on the smart search result page. And so if you combine his extension with what I'm showing here, that you can customize the layout of the smart search result page, I think Joomla kills everything, right? Let's just see maybe the demo on this. I give all the links, right, to his website, to his demo. So let's just open it to show. So in this case, he has just the basic layout with the image on the left, right, with float start that we were mentioning at the start. And well, you can filter according to the Joomla article categories. You can filter according to the genre is probably the tag, actually. The films have tags. And you can also filter according, I guess, release the year is a custom field. So if you combine J filters, which I've not done yet on a real production website, but I really want to do it. If you combine this extension, for example, with what we are seeing together now, customizing the smart search results page view, you can really have something extremely nice to allow the people to search and filter your content and have a smart presentation. Now, just one thing I wanted to mention beyond smart search. I have no personal experience with those tools, but other interesting search tools for Joomla are Elasticsearch, and there is a Joomla extension allowing to integrate Elasticsearch with Joomla, or also Algolia, like the extensions direction directory uses Algolia. So you can also integrate Algolia instead of smart search in Joomla with this extension by Xly. So I have no experience with those, but if you want to think further about filtering and searching in Joomla, these are interesting extensions. So I wanted to thank you very, very much for your presence at the JoomlaDay USA, and I wanted to thank the organizers because I am very well aware of the amount of work that it represents, but it's very nice to have all those sessions live or in replay for after. And well, I think that's it, and I'm on time. let's have a look.
All right. Thank you very much, Marc. We don't have any questions now in the Q&A, so maybe if somebody has a question, don't hesitate to ask. We still have a few minutes to go, so we can even have you come on.
Yeah. Anyway,
online if you want to talk to. We can allow you to talk. Laura has a questions.
Hello, Marc. Thank you.
Hi, Laura.
I just put in the notes. So those of you that just attended this amazing session, and Marc ended it with Sakis tool with the filter search plugin, filter field plugin from Blue Coder. We just attended that session. So if you're watching this session right now, I highly recommend you also watch the linked session from Sakis that he just gave. A lot of us just came in from that, and it just pulls it all together. So thank you. Thank you very much. This is a fantastic way to extend Joomla. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm really impatient to see Sakis' session. Well, I'll have to wait for 2 weeks or so before you can publish them.
Yes. I'm sorry that they ended up at the same time. It's all a timing thing. Everyone needed certain times.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah.
But that's okay. We can all watch the recording.
Yeah, exactly.
You may have a sneak peek before everybody else, maybe.
I think I can try to do that. I can't believe nobody has any questions. We have all these people in the room and nothing at all. You're just astounded. Let us know any questions at all.
So please don't hesitate to go to his page, to Marc's page. The link is in the chat. It's filled with tips and tricks and stuff that you can do with Smart Search. So please go in there, and you will thank him for that.
Yeah, usually my presentations. Well, if you read the version online, you have everything you have to know with all the links. So even if something was a bit too fast now for the session, a live session, you have all the details in the presentation itself.
Yeah, and you also have on your pages, you have tons of stuff about templates and custom fields, and so please, people, go to the page slides.web.be, and you'll find all sorts of information you will love.
So I have a question for JoomlaDay France. Is that going to be in all French, I assume? Or will there be any English sessions? Will there be any English sessions?
Yeah, so the majority will be in French, but we will also have different people like Brian Tiemann coming from UK, like Peter Martin coming from the Netherlands, like Robert Deutsch, our president, coming from Germany. So we'll have several sessions in English.
Great. So if anyone is interested, definitely visit. What is the URL again? It's JoomlaDay.
JoomlaDay.fr. Yeah.
Okay. So JoomlaDay.fr. Go visit that. And can they filter by the English-based sessions so they can find them easily? I have a feeling they did something with custom fields. And it's virtual as well, correct? It's virtual?
No. It's the first event in real life for the last 2 or 3 years in the Joomla realm. So, like, if you can't wait to meet Joomlas in real life, it's really the place to be.
Will it be hybrid so you can attend virtually, or it's only in person?
We will try to record sessions, but I don't know if we can record all the rooms, at least the main room. But we still have to settle those details because there is much work to have. But so people cannot attend it from their computer, but maybe there will be a replay at least for some sessions. We will try to do that.
Great. So if there ends up being a replay, I'll make sure to share it with this list of everyone that has attended here for those that can come. They can't physically get over there. Yeah. So.
And there is no COVID restriction in Belgium right now, except wearing mask in the metro. and the buses. So, but we can all meet. You don't need a pass. You don't need to be vaccinated or whatever. There is no restriction, so you can take a train or fly to Brussels. There is no paperwork.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Olivia, I'll let you close it up.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending Marc's session. And then we want to thank our sponsors again, our premier sponsor, Watchful, our platinum sponsor, Roshan, Open Source Matters, OS Training, and Commercial Lab, and gold sponsor, Weblr, web357.com, cloudaccess.net, gmodules.com, RS Joomla, and all our silver sponsors. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, Marc. Really appreciate you coming in, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the day.